Emily Carter's hands were burning, not from heat yet from grip. She had both of them locked under the arms of Nathan Cole, the most dangerous man in Chicago, and she was dragging him across a floor that had already started to glow. Everyone else had run, everyone. And still she kept pulling a 23-year-old maid, hauling a mafia boss out of his own burning mansion because she needed him alive. Not for mercy, for the truth. If you're watching right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Stay with me until the very last word and drop the name of your city in the comments. I want to see just how far this story can travel. The morning of the fire, Emily Carter tied her apron twice because her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She told herself it was the cold. November in Chicago had a way of crawling up through the stone floors of the Cole mansion, the kind of cold that didn't just sit on your skin, it settled into your bones, but Emily knew better. The trembling in her fingers had nothing to do with the weather. It had everything to do with the small silver tray she'd be carrying tonight and the man she'd be carrying it to. 8 months. 8 months of scrubbing marble she didn't care about. 8 months of polishing silverware she would never eat from. 8 months of saying yes, ma'am, and right away, sir, while a question burned quietly in the back of her throat. Tonight, finally, she was close. Emily, sweetheart, you listening to me? Mrs. Alvarez, the head housekeeper, stood in the pantry doorway with her arms crossed like a school teacher who'd caught a student daydreaming. The woman was 62, silver-haired and built like a church pew, stern on the outside, surprisingly soft when you leaned against her. Emily blinked. Sorry, yes ma'am, the study, coffee at 10. At 10 sharp, not 5 after, not 5-2. Mr. Cole does not appreciate interruptions. He does appreciate punctuality. You understand the difference. I understand. Mrs. Alvarez studied her. She had a way of looking at a person that made you feel like she was reading the small print on your soul. You've been quiet this week, child, quieter than usual. Something on your mind. Emily forced a smile. Just want to get it right. You always get it right. The older woman softened just a little. That's why I gave you the study. But listen to me tonight. There's going to be important people in this house. Senators, judges, men whose names are in the paper for good reasons, and men whose names are in the paper for bad ones. You serve the coffee. You don't look at faces. You don't linger. You leave. Yes, ma'am. And Emily. Yes. Whatever those men are talking about behind that door, you didn't hear it. Understand? I understand. Mrs. Alvarez nodded once satisfied and turned back toward the kitchen, her heels clicking against the stone like a metronome. Emily let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She understood all right. She understood far better than Mrs. Alvarez could possibly know. Rosa found her in the linen closet 10 minutes later, folding napkins into the stiff, triangular shapes the housekeepers called bishop's mitres. Rosa was the other young maid in the house, 18 Dominican, with a laugh that could carry through 3 rooms and a mouth her mother had warned her about since she was 4. Girl, you look like somebody died. Nobody died, Rosa. Your face says different. Rosa plopped down on an overturned bucket and started folding with her. You know who's coming tonight, Senator Harding? The one who cried on television last year. And that boxer, what's his name, Donnelly, and Mr. Cole's own mother, God help us all, that woman hates the way I fold napkins. Rosa, what? Is there extra security tonight? Rosa's fingers paused over a napkin. She looked up. Why are you asking? I saw 4 men at the front gate this morning. Usually there's 2, and there's a man in the east hallway I've never seen before. Rosa leaned closer, her voice dropping. I heard Marcus talking on the phone at 4 a.m. when I came up from the laundry. He was using the word threat. Twice. Threat from who? Emily. Girl. Rosa looked her dead in the eye. You remember what I told you the day you started? In this house, you don't ask that question. Ever. You serve. You smile. You disappear. You want to keep your job. Boom. You want to keep your life. You disappear. Emily nodded slowly, but something in her chest was beating so loud she was sure Rosa could hear it. Because Emily Carter hadn't come to this house to keep her life. She'd come to find out what happened to her fathers. Daniel Carter had been 41 years old when he disappeared, 7 years ago, a Tuesday. He'd kissed Emily on the forehead the way he always did, too quick, too light, like he was afraid of breaking her, and he'd told her he'd be home by Thursday at the latest. He had a long haul to run. Special cargo, he said. The boss was paying double. On Wednesday night, Emily's mother got a phone call. "Carol, it's me. Something went wrong on the road." "Dan, what are you talking about? Where are you?" "Listen to me, listen. Don't come looking for me. Don't let Em come looking for me. Whatever you hear about me, whatever they say, I love you both. You tell her that. Every day. Daniel, you are scaring me. Carol, tell her every day." And then the line had gone dead. No body, no car, no police report that had made any sense. Just a folded check for $3,000 that arrived at their house 2 weeks later in an envelope with no return address. Carol Carter spent that money on groceries because there was a child to feed. Then she cried in the pantry so Emily wouldn't hear. Carol died 4 years later. Ovarian cancer. Too late when they caught it. Emily held her hand at the end, and the last thing her mother said before the morphine took her was, "Don't you go looking, Em, please. Don't you go looking." Emily had promised. Of course she'd promised. Then she'd buried her mother, and 2 months after that, she started looking. It had taken her 3 years, 2 fake references, 1 forged diploma, and more patience than she'd known her body could hold, but it had brought her here, to the Cole mansion, to the one man in Chicago who knew what had happened to Daniel Carter. Nathan Cole, her father's employer, her father's boss, her father's last phone call. And tonight at 10 o'clock, she was going to carry a tray of coffee into a study, and she was going to find out whatever she could. At 6 in the evening, the guests began to arrive. Emily moved through the ground floor like a ghost in a black dress. Champagne flutes. Canapes. "Yes, sir." "Right away." "No, ma'am, allow me." Nobody looked at her, and that was the way it worked in rooms like this. You were furniture, and furniture didn't have a name. She caught sight of Nathan Cole twice. The first time he was shaking hands with a silver-haired senator, and he laughed at something the senator said, a polite laugh, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Emily had studied his face for 8 months. She knew the difference between his real smile and his working smile. That was his working smile. The second time he was standing by the marble staircase with Marcus, his head of security. Marcus was whispering something in his ear, and Nathan's jaw had gone tight in a way that made Emily's stomach turn over. Then Nathan looked up, and for the first time in 8 months, his eyes met hers. It was nothing, a half second, less. His gaze passed over her the way a flashlight beam passes over wallpaper. But in that half second, Emily felt something she hadn't expected. Not fear exactly, something colder. He looks tired, she thought. He looks like a man who knows something is coming. She dropped her eyes and kept walking. At 9:45, Mrs. Alvarez appeared at her elbow. Fresh pot, silver tray, 3 cups tonight, not 2. 3. He has a visitor. Go. Emily went. She climbed the back stairs with the tray balanced on her forearm, and she counted her breaths the way her father had taught her to count breaths when she was scared, in through the nose, 4 counts out through the mouth, 4 counts. It didn't help. Her heart was a fist slamming against the door. She reached the landing. The long hallway that led to the study was empty. Not a guard, not a guest. Empty. That wasn't right. There were always 2 men outside that door. Always. Emily slowed. Something in her body, something older than thought, told her to turn around, to take the tray back to the kitchen, to tell Mrs. Alvarez she'd felt sick, and she almost did. She actually took 1 step backward. Then she heard the voices through the door. I don't know what you did, Nathan. You think I don't have eyes in this city. Sit down, David. We can talk about this like men. Like men, you put my brother in the ground. Your brother put himself in the ground. He stole from me 3 times. I gave him 3 chances. How many chances is a man supposed to get? He was 24 years old, and now he's dead. And you're here, in my house, on a night when I have a senator downstairs and a federal judge drinking my scotch. You want to tell me why, David? Because I'm trying very hard to give you the benefit of the doubt. A pause, a long one. Emily stood frozen in the hallway, the silver tray shaking so hard that the lid of the coffee pot chimed softly against its base. She pressed it still with her thumb. The second voice, David, was lower now, almost gentle. I came to give you a choice, Nathan. A choice. You can get down on your knees and apologize. For Marco. For what your people did to him. You can make it right with our family, or, or you're going to wish you had. Nathan laughed. It wasn't his working laugh. It wasn't his real laugh either. It was something Emily had never heard from him before, flat and tired and almost sad. David, walk away. Walk away from this house tonight. I'm giving you that because I owe your father something I don't owe you. But you walk out the front door and you keep walking and you don't come back. Because if you come back, you don't get it, Nathan. I don't get what? I already came back. Silence. A long, terrible silence. And in that silence, Emily Carter, 23 years old, still holding a silver tray full of coffee, understood three things in a single awful rush. One, something was about to happen in that room. Two, she was the only person in the hallway who knew it. Three, if Nathan Cole died tonight, every answer she had spent 7 years looking for died with him. She took a step toward the door. She raised her hand to knock. And then the world ended. The sound came first. Not a bang, a thud, deep and enormous, like a giant had dropped a safe in the basement. Then the floor moved. Then the walls moved. Then Emily was moving too, thrown sideways by a hand. She couldn't see the tray flying out of her arms and the coffee pot striking the wallpaper with a sound she would remember for the rest of her life. She hit the floor on her shoulder, her mouth filled with the taste of copper. Somewhere glass was breaking. Somewhere a woman was screaming, high, thin, endless scream, the scream of a person who had not yet decided to stop. For a long moment, Emily couldn't remember her own name. Then she remembered. Then she remembered why she was here. She pushed herself up onto her hands. The hallway was full of smoke, already gray and thick and tasting of something chemical and wrong. At the far end of the corridor, she could see flames orange alive reaching. People were shouting from downstairs. Footsteps were pounding on the marble. She heard Marcus's voice, huge and hoarse, bellowing orders she couldn't make out. The study door was off its hinges. Inside the study, something was burning. Somebody was burning. Emily got to her feet. Her left ear wasn't working right. Her knees didn't want to lock. There was blood running down the side of her neck from a place she couldn't feel. She took one step toward the stairs, the safe direction, the direction every other person in that house was running, and then she stopped. She turned around. She faced the smoke. Ma'am, a voice behind her, one of the guards, his jacket torn, his face gray. Ma'am, you have to go down. You have to. He's in there? Ma'am, he's in there and I'm going to get him. The guard grabbed her arm. She yanked it free with a strength she didn't know she had. Move, she said, and she walked into the fire. The study was an oven. She got low. She didn't know where she'd learned to get low. Maybe a school assembly in 3rd grade, maybe her father, maybe a TV show, but her body remembered before her brain did. She dropped to her hands and knees and crawled across a carpet that was starting to melt into the soles of her shoes. Mr. Cole. No answer. Mr. Cole, it's Emily Nathan. She had never used his first name out loud. It felt obscene in her mouth, like saying the name of God in a bar. Nathan. A cough. She followed it. He was behind the desk, half behind. His legs were pinned under something that used to be a bookcase, and there was blood on the side of his face. A lot of blood, enough that for one sickening second she thought she was too late. But then his eyes opened. Barely. They found hers. He tried to speak. A bubble of blood formed on his lower lip. Save your breath, Emily heard herself say. Her own voice sounded far away, like it was coming from another room. Save your breath, Mr. Cole. I'm going to get you out. He shook his head. Once. Slowly. Go. I'm not going. Kid? I said I'm not going. She put both hands under the edge of the bookcase. She pushed. Nothing. She pushed again with her shoulder, with her back, with her teeth clenched. In tears, she didn't know she was crying, running down into the corner of her mouth, and the bookcase shifted. An inch. Then 2. Then it tipped away from him with a crash that sent a whole new wave of heat up into her face. Nathan Cole looked at her. Really looked. For the second time that night, and this time his gaze didn't pass over her like a flashlight beam. This time he saw her. Who, he rasped, are you? She grabbed him under the arms. I'm the woman who's going to drag you out of this room, she said, and then you and I are going to have a very long conversation. He almost laughed. It came out as a cough. Then Emily Carter, 23 years old, 5'4", 120 pounds, started pulling Nathan Cole across a burning floor. Behind her, something exploded again, smaller, secondary. A bottle of something going up somewhere into the walls, and the last of the study ceiling came down in a curtain of sparks. Emily didn't look back. She couldn't afford to look back. She had him under the arms, and she had the servants' staircase in front of her, and every muscle in her body was on fire already. So what difference would a little more fire make? One step. Drag. Rest. Breathe. Talk to me, Mr. Cole. You talk to me. You stay awake. You hear me? Girl. My name is Emily. Emily. Yes, sir. Why? She didn't have breath for the real answer. She didn't have breath for any answer except the one that was true on the surface and true all the way down for reasons Nathan Cole didn't know yet, for reasons he wasn't going to know for a long time. Because I can't leave you here, she said, and she kept pulling. Behind them, the door to the study collapsed inward in a roar of orange light. Ahead of them, the servants' staircase waited in the dark, and below it, somewhere in the cold November air, was the rest of her life, a life that was about to look nothing at all like the one she thought she had come to this house to live. Emily Carter tightened her grip under the arms of the most dangerous man in Chicago, and she took the next step. The servants' staircase was narrower than Emily remembered. Narrower, darker, and already starting to fill with smoke from the bottom, which meant the fire wasn't just above them anymore. It was below them too. Mr. Cole, stay with me. Kid, leave me. I am not leaving you. I'm too heavy. You are not too heavy. He was. God, he was. Nathan Cole was 6'2" and 200 pounds of dead weight, and Emily had him under the arms on a set of stairs that went down in a tight, cruel spiral. Every step was a decision. Let him go too fast, he slid. Hold him too tight, she slid. She braced her back against the wall and lowered him one stair at a time, the way a mother lowers a sleeping child into a crib, except the child was a mafia boss and the crib was on fire. Talk to me, she gasped. Talk, Nathan. You called me Nathan again. I did. Nobody calls me Nathan. I just did. Keep breathing. What's your last name, kid? She almost said it, the real one. It almost fell out of her mouth right there on that staircase with the smoke burning her throat and her arms shaking and her father's name rising up her chest like it had been waiting 7 years for this exact moment. She swallowed it back down. Focus on the stairs, Mr. Cole. You just called me Nathan. Focus on the stairs. Somewhere above them, another beam came down. The whole staircase shuddered. A picture frame she didn't even know there'd been a picture frame fell past her ear and exploded against the landing below. Emily's knees buckled. She caught herself on the banister with her elbow, and for one awful second she felt Nathan's weight start to pull her forward over the rail into the dark. Then a hand closed around her wrist. Not his, not from below, from above. I've got him. She looked up. A guard. The same one who tried to stop her upstairs torn jacket, gray face a cut over his eye that was bleeding into his beard. He had one foot on the step above hers and one huge hand around her wrist, and with his other arm, he was already reaching past her for Nathan's collar. Ma'am, let go. I've got him. I can let go. She let go. The guard, his name tag, said, Tommy. She would remember that later. She would remember that name for the rest of her life. Slid down past her and got both arms under Nathan's shoulders, and suddenly Nathan wasn't her problem anymore. Suddenly Nathan was 300 pounds of American muscle being carried down a burning staircase by a man who did this kind of thing for a living. Stay behind me, ma'am, Tommy said. Hand on my shoulder, don't let go. Yes, sir. Are you hurt? I don't know. Good answer. Move. They came out through the kitchen door. The cold hit Emily like a second explosion. One moment she was in an oven. The next moment she was on her knees in wet November grass, and her lungs were trying to remember how to work, and she was coughing up something black onto the lawn of a mansion that was behind her unmistakably and completely on fire. Breathe, ma'am. Slow. In through the nose. Nathan. He's with the medics. Look at me. Look at my finger. Follow my finger. A paramedic, 20-something, red hair. Steady hands. Emily tried to follow the finger. The finger had 3 copies of itself. Concussion probable. We need to get her in the rig. No. Ma'am, not yet. Ma'am. I said not yet. The paramedic looked up over her shoulder at someone Emily couldn't see, and then a shadow fell across her. A big one. Marcus. Head of security. The man Rosa had said used the word threat at 4 in the morning. He crouched down in front of Emily on the wet grass, and he put his elbows on his knees and he looked at her for a long, long second before he said anything. "Kid," Marcus said, "look at me." She looked at him. Marcus had a face that didn't give you anything for free. Late 40s, shaved head, a scar that ran through his left eyebrow and came out the other side. He was looking at her the way a man looks at a puzzle he didn't ask to solve. "Tommy tells me," he said slowly, "that you walked into that study after the blast." "Yes, sir." "Walked in, not out." "Yes, sir." "You pulled Mr. Cole off the floor. By yourself. A bookcase was on his legs. You moved a bookcase." "I pushed it." "You pushed a bookcase off Nathan Cole." "Yes, sir." Marcus kept looking at her. She couldn't read his face. She'd spent 8 months in this house learning to read the faces of powerful men, and Marcus's face was a locked door. "What's your name, kid?" "Emily." "Emily what?" There it was again. The question. The same one Nathan had asked her on the burning floor. The same one that wanted so badly to come out in her real last name, the name on her real birth certificate, the name she had been hiding under 2 fake references and a forged diploma for 8 months. Emily Walker. The lie came out smooth. She had practiced it in a mirror for 3 weeks before she ever set foot in this house. Marcus nodded slowly. "Walker." "Yes, sir." "How long you been with us, Walker?" 8 months. 8 months, he exhaled through his nose. "You know, in 8 months, I've walked past you in a hallway probably 100 times, and I couldn't have told you your first name before tonight. That's my job, you understand, to know, and I didn't know. I don't know what to... I'm not accusing you of anything. Yet." He straightened up. He looked down at her the way a man looks at a problem. "Get her checked out. Nobody talks to her until I talk to her. Nobody." "Yes, Marcus." "Walker." "Yes, sir." "You just saved a man's life. You understand the kind of man." Emily nodded. "That means 2 things for you," Marcus said. "It means you've got a friend you didn't have yesterday. And it means you've got a problem you didn't have yesterday. Because whoever did this, whoever lit that fire, whoever set that charge, they're going to find out a little maid pulled him out. And they're going to ask the same question I'm asking. Who is she? You understand me?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Get in the ambulance." Deuxième. They put her in the back of the rig. They put Nathan in another one. She watched his stretcher go through the open doors, watched them strap an oxygen mask over his bleeding face, and just before the doors closed, she saw his eyes roll sideways and find hers across 20 feet of smoke and red and blue lights. He lifted one finger off the stretcher. One, toward her, then the door shut, and he was gone. At the hospital, a detective was waiting for her before the IV was even in. "Miss Walker, Detective Reyes, Chicago PD, can you talk?" Yes. "Just a few questions. You can stop any time. You okay with the nurse staying?" "Yes." Detective Reyes was a woman, 40, tired eyes, a notepad she didn't open. She pulled a chair up to the bed and sat down without being asked, and Emily understood in the slow, dazed way her concussed brain was understanding things that this woman was not there to comfort her. "You were in the hallway when the blast went off." "Yes." "You were carrying a tray of coffee to Mr. Cole's study." "Yes." "Was anybody in the hallway with you?" "No, Nobody." The guards were gone. Detective Reyes's pen did not move, but something behind her eyes did. "The guards were gone," the detective repeated. "There are always 2 men outside that door, always. There weren't any tonight." "You're sure?" "Well, I'm sure. Miss Walker, how long have you worked in that house?" 8 months. "And in 8 months, there have always been 2 guards on that door." "Always." The detective wrote something down. Just one word. Emily couldn't see what it was. "Miss Walker, when you were in the hallway before the blast, did you hear anything from inside the study?" Emily opened her mouth. She closed it. She could feel Marcus's eyes on her, even though Marcus was 40 minutes away. She could feel Mrs. Alvarez's voice in her ear, whatever those men are talking about behind that door, you didn't hear it. And underneath both of those voices, the quieter one, the one that had been living in her chest for 7 years, "Find out what happened to your father, Emily. Find out at any cost. Trust nobody until you do." "No," Emily said. "I didn't hear anything." Detective Reyes looked at her for a very long moment. Nothing at all, the detective nodded. Nothing at all. Miss Walker, I've been doing this 19 years. You want to try that answer again? I didn't hear anything clearly. I heard voices, men's voices. I couldn't make out words. Couldn't or wouldn't, couldn't. How many voices? 2. Both male. Yes. You recognize them. One of them was Mr. Cole. And the other. I didn't know him. You're sure? I'm sure. The pen moved again. 2 words this time. The detective flipped the notepad closed. Miss Walker, one more question and then I'll let the nurse take over. In your 8 months in that house, have you ever heard the name David Chen? Emily's heart stopped. It actually stopped. There was a full silent half-second in her chest where nothing moved at all. Because David Chen was not just a name to Emily Carter. David Chen was the name her mother had whispered into the phone at 3 in the morning 4 months after her father vanished, when she thought Emily was asleep. Chen, the man said. His name is Chen. He was the last one with Daniel. Emily had been 11 years old. She had never forgotten it. She looked Detective Reyes in the eye. No, she said. I've never heard that name. They let her out of the hospital at 4 in the morning with a bottle of painkillers, a concussion protocol sheet, and a black Escalade waiting at the curb. Marcus sent it. I figured. He said, and I quote, if she won't get in, tell her it's not a suggestion. The driver was a kid, 25 maybe. He said his name was Eddie, and he looked at Emily in the rearview mirror like she was a lit stick of dynamite he'd been ordered to transport across town. Where are we going, Eddie? Safe house. Not the mansion. Mansion's a crime scene, ma'am. What's left of it? What's left of it? East wing is gone. Gone. Study, library, 3 guest rooms all gone. Main hall standing. Kitchen mostly. They say the whole east side was rigged. Rigged with what? Above my pay grade, ma'am. Eddie. Above my pay grade, ma'am. She watched the city slide past her window. 4 a.m. Chicago. The kind of hour when the street lights look personal and every other car is a cab. Her whole body hurt. Her left ear still wasn't working wide. Somewhere in this city, Nathan Cole was in a hospital bed with a guard at the door. And somewhere else in this city, a man named David Chen was awake and probably smiling. And somewhere much closer than either of those 2 men, her father had been killed 7 years ago, for reasons she still did not know. Eddie. Yes, ma'am. Where's Mr. Cole? Ma'am, I really can't. I just pulled him out of a fire. Eddie was quiet for a block. Then 2. Private facility, so, he said. Northwest side. He's stable. He's asking for you. He's what? Asking for you. By name, not loud, just once. He said it before they sedated him. He said my name. He said the girl. Marcus figured out the rest. Emily pressed her forehead against the cold glass of the window, and she did not cry because the 23-year-old women who had already crossed the line she had crossed did not get to cry in the back of strange men's SUVs at 4 in the morning. Not yet. Not until this was over. Eddie? Yes, ma'am. Does Marcus trust me? Eddie laughed. Once. Dry. Ma'am, he said, Marcus doesn't trust his own mother. But he's the one who told me to drive careful with you. So you do the math. Bust. The safe house was a brownstone in a neighborhood Emily didn't recognize. They put her in a bedroom on the 2nd floor with a locked window and a bed that had been made by somebody in a hurry. There was a woman outside the door. Eddie introduced her as Rita, and Rita did not smile, and Rita had a holster under her cardigan that Emily pretended not to notice. At 6 in the morning, Rita knocked on the door. Honey, somebody on the phone for you. For me. For you. It was a landline, old one, cream-colored. Rita handed her the receiver and stepped out into the hall, but not so far out that she couldn't hear. Emily put the phone to her ear. Hello? Emily, Nathan Cole. His voice was shredded, half a whisper, half a rasp, but it was him. Mr. Cole, you shouldn't be on the phone. I owe you my life, kid. You don't owe me anything. I owe you my life. Say it back to me. Mr. Cole, say it back to me. You owe me your life. Good. Remember that, because there's going to come a time soon, maybe when I'm going to ask you why. Her stomach dropped. Why what? Why you walked into that fire. Nobody walks into a fire for a stranger, Emily. Nobody. And you're not stupid enough to have done it by accident. So you had a reason. And when I'm strong enough to sit up in this bed, you're going to tell me what that reason is." She didn't answer. "Emily?" "Yes, sir." "I am not going to be angry. Do you understand me? Whatever your reason is, I already decided tonight lying on that floor that I am not going to be angry because you walked into that fire, and a man who's been given his life back does not get to be angry at the person who gave it. That's a rule I just made. Do you hear me?" "I hear you." "Good. Rest. I'll see you when I can stand." "Mr. Cole." "Yes." "Who's David Chen?" The line went quiet. For a long beat, she thought he'd hung up. Then very softly, in a voice that did not sound like a mafia boss and did not sound like a man in a hospital bed, in a voice that sounded for one strange second like a tired old uncle at the end of a bad Thanksgiving, Nathan Cole said, "Where did you hear that name, kid?" "A detective asked me." "Which detective?" "Reyes." "Reyes." He exhaled. "Of course, listen to me. Emily, listen. You do not repeat that name. Not to Reyes, not to Marcus, not to the wallpaper. You hear me?" "I hear you." "Good girl." "Mr. Cole." "Yes." "Did David Chen do this?" Another silence. "Then rest, Emily." And this time he did hang up. She sat on the edge of the bed with the receiver in her hand until Rita came in and took it away from her. Rita didn't say anything. Rita just took the phone, set it gently back in its cradle, and squeezed Emily's shoulder, once the first human touch Emily had gotten since the paramedic had shown a flashlight in her eyes 6 hours ago. "Sleep, honey." "I can't." "Try." "Rita." "Yeah." "Am I safe here?" Rita looked at her. Rita had a kind face when she wanted to, not often, but now. "Honey," Rita said, "you are the safest girl in Chicago tonight. You know why? Why? Because Nathan Cole owes you his life. And Nathan Cole is a lot of things, a lot of bad things. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about that. But the one thing that man has never done in 30 years is forget a debt. And if somebody comes for me anyway," Rita patted the holster under her cardigan, "then somebody's going to have a real bad morning," she said. "Sleep." Emily laid down. She closed her eyes. And in the second before sleep took her, she thought about the photograph in the inside pocket of her maid's uniform. The one that had survived the fire because her maid's uniform had survived the fire, because she had been wearing it, a photograph of a man with her eyes and her smile and her stubborn chin. Daniel Carter. 41 years old, missing 7 years. "I'm close, Daddy," she thought. "I'm closer than I've ever been." And then for the first time in a very long time, Emily Carter slept. She slept for 4 hours and woke up to the sound of a man yelling downstairs. Emily sat up too fast. Her head punished her for it. Somewhere below, a voice she didn't recognize was shouting a word she couldn't make out. In a voice she did recognize, Rita's, was saying, calm as Sunday morning, "You are not going up those stairs, sir. You can sit down or you can sit down. Those are your choices." Emily pulled the blanket off. Her maid's uniform was gone. Somebody had laid out sweatpants and a hoodie on the chair while she slept, which meant somebody had been in the room while she slept, which meant she had not been as safe as Rita had promised. Or maybe she had been exactly that safe. She couldn't tell anymore. She padded to the door in socks. She put her ear to the wood. "Need to see her right now, Rita." "Sir, with respect, you don't need to do anything right now except lower your voice. The girl is sleeping. The girl is a liability. The girl is the reason your boss is breathing this morning." A silence. A long one. Then the man's voice again, lower, tighter. "You don't understand what's happening out there, Rita. The street is moving. By tonight, every crew in this city is going to know a maid pulled Nathan Cole out of a fire. And the first thing they are going to ask is who put her in that house. Then you better have an answer, sir." "I don't have an answer, that's the problem." Emily's hand went cold around the doorknob. Downstairs, a door shut hard. Then footsteps. Then Rita's voice directly below the floorboards, murmuring something short and flat into a phone. Then silence. Emily waited 3 full minutes before she opened the door. Rita was at the bottom of the stairs with a coffee cup in each hand. "Morning, honey." "Who was that?" "Nobody you need to worry about." "Rita." "Drink your coffee." "Rita, who was that?" Rita looked up the stairs at her for a long moment. Rita had the face of a woman who had raised sons and buried at least one of them, and when she finally spoke, her voice was gentler than it had any right to be. "That was a man named Vincent," she said. "He's Mr. Cole's lawyer, and Mr. Cole's lawyer is very upset that nobody can tell him where Emily Walker went to high school." Emily's knees almost gave out. She sat down on the top step. "Drink," Rita said, and climbed the stairs one at a time and handed her the coffee. "You want to tell me anything, honey?" "No, ma'am." "You sure about that?" "Yes, ma'am." Rita sat down next to her on the top step. Their shoulders touched. She smelled like cigarettes and lavender soap. "Okay," Rita said. "Then you drink your coffee, and when Mr. Cole calls you again, and he is going to call you again probably within the hour, you think very carefully about what you want your next sentence to him to be. Because Vincent is going to dig. Vincent is paid to dig. And whatever he finds by tomorrow." Emily stared down into her coffee. "Rita." "Yeah. If he finds something bad, what happens?" Rita did not answer for a long time. Then she said, "That depends entirely on Mr. Cole." The call came 40 minutes later. It wasn't Nathan this time. It was Marcus. "Walker, get dressed. You're coming to the hospital." "Yes, sir." "Eddie's at the curb in 20. Wear the hood up." "Yes, sir." "Walker." "Yes, sir." "Whatever you said to him on the phone last night, he hasn't slept. He's refusing the sedative. He wants you in that room, so when you walk in steady. You understand me?" "Yes, sir." "Steady." "Yes, sir." She hung up. Her hands were doing the shaking thing again. She pressed them flat against her thighs until they stopped. The hospital wasn't a hospital. Eddie drove her to a building that looked like a dental office from the street and turned out on the inside to be a floor of private suites nobody had a key to except Marcus. There were 2 men in the lobby who did not work for the dental office. There was a woman at the front desk whose computer screen was turned away so hard Emily couldn't even see the glow. "Up the elevator, 3rd floor, end of the hall." "Thank you, Eddie." "Ma'am?" "Yes." Eddie looked at her in the mirror. He was 25 years old and he had the tired eyes of a man twice that. "In there," he said, "tell him the truth. Whatever it is, he can smell a lie at 40 feet and he is not in the mood today." "How do you know I'd lie?" Eddie smiled small and sad. "Ma'am," he said, "everybody lies in this building. The only question is about what?" Nathan Cole looked smaller in a hospital bed. That was the first thing that hit her. The man who had filled a ballroom the night before, the man whose working smile could shut down a conversation 3 tables away, was propped up against pillows in a suite that tried very hard not to look like a hospital room and failed. There was an IV in his left arm. There was a bandage across the side of his head that did not quite hide the stitches. There was a burn on his neck that someone had coated in something shiny and translucent, and it made her stomach turn. But his eyes were open, and when Emily stepped into the room, his eyes found her immediately and did not let go. "Close the door," he said. She closed it. "Sit." She sat. Marcus was in the corner, arms crossed, watching her the way a man watches a courtroom. Nathan flicked 2 fingers at him without looking. "Out." "Boss, out, Marcus." "I'd like to stay for this conversation." "I know you would." "Out." Marcus looked at Emily for one very long second. Then he walked past her, and as he passed, he said quietly, not for Nathan's ears, "Steady, Walker." And he closed the door behind him. Nathan Cole and Emily Carter were alone in a room for the first time in her life. "So, come closer, kid." "Yes, sir." "Not that close, just there so I can see your face." She sat on the edge of the chair. She didn't know what to do with her hands. She folded them in her lap like a girl in church. "You slept?" "A little." "They feed you, Bueno." "Rita gave me coffee." "Rita is not a cook." He almost smiled. "I'll have them send food to the house." "Mr. Cole." "Yes." "Why am I here?" He looked at her for a long moment. His good eye, the other one, was half swollen shut. "Because," he said, "I have spent the last 9 hours in this bed doing the only thing a man in my position is allowed to do in a bed like this, which is think. And I have thought about exactly one thing." "Do you know what that is?" "No, sir." "I have thought about the moment you came through that study door." She didn't answer. "Everybody else in that house ran," Nathan said. "Everybody. Senators. My own security, most of them. My own nephew, if you can believe that my own sister's son, 28 years old, ran down the front drive in his socks. And a 23-year-old girl who I could not have picked out of a lineup yesterday morning walked toward the fire, alone with nothing in her hands but a coffee pot. I put the coffee pot down. I know you did. I heard it. You heard it? It hit the wallpaper about 3 seconds before the blast. I was still arguing with a dead man. I heard the pot. I remember thinking somebody's out there. Somebody is still out there. And then the room came apart. Emily swallowed. A dead man, she said carefully. A dead man. You mean, he's dead now. He didn't make it out of that room. Whatever he lit it too close to himself or somebody else lit it for him. I haven't decided which one yet. David Chen. Nathan Cole went very still. Not tense. Still. The way a wolf goes still. I told you on the phone, he said quietly, not to say that name. I know. And you said it anyway. I know. Why? She opened her mouth. She closed it. She looked down at her hands in her lap, and she thought about Eddie in the car, and she thought about her mother on her last morning, and she thought about her father's voice on that phone call 7 years ago. Tell her every day. And she looked back up at the most dangerous man in Chicago, and she said the thing she had been waiting 8 months to say. Because my last name is not Walker, Mr. Cole. A pause. Keep talking. My last name is Carter. The air went out of the room. She saw it on his face, saw the half second his brain needed to match the name to the memory the way you see a man do arithmetic in public. His jaw did something. His good eye narrowed. The bandage over his forehead creased. Carter. Yes, sir. Daniel Carter. My father. Nathan Cole closed his eyes. For a very long time, he didn't open them. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. It wasn't a boss's voice anymore. It wasn't a boardroom voice. It was a voice Emily had not heard from any man in 8 months in that house. A voice with something raw and very tired underneath it. How old are you, Emily? 23, sir. 23. He almost laughed. It came out as a cough. You were 16. You were 16 years old when he... Yes, sir. Emily, look at me. She looked at him. I did not kill your father. I didn't say you did. I know you didn't. I'm saying it anyway. Because I've had 8 years to think about what I would say to Daniel Carter's daughter if she ever walked into my house. And it turns out she already has, and I didn't even know her name. So I am going to say it now, and I am going to say it clean. I did not kill your father. Your father worked for me. Your father was one of mine. And somebody took him from me on a run he never should have been on, and I have spent 8 years trying to find out who, and I never did. Do you hear me? I hear you. Do you believe me? She looked at him for a long time. The truth was she didn't know. The truth was she had come into this house expecting to find a monster, and she had spent 8 months watching a man who laughed politely at senators and kissed his mother on the cheek every Sunday, and she didn't know anymore. Not about him, not about anything. I don't know, sir, she said. Nathan Cole nodded slow like that was the right answer. Good, he said. A girl your age in a situation like this, if she'd said yes just then, I'd have known she was lying. You keep that, idiot. I don't know. You hold on to it. You don't owe me a yes yet. Yes, sir. Emily. Yes, sir. Your father came to me the week before he died. Did you know that? No, sir. He sat across from me at a table in a restaurant on Taylor Street, and he told me he wanted out. Not out the bad way, out the clean way. He'd been saving. He had a number. He told me the number, and he said, Nate, when I hit that number, I'm done. I'm going home to my wife and my kid, and I'm going to drive a regular truck for a regular company, and I'm going to coach Little League if they'll let a man my age coach Little League, and I don't want any trouble from you about it. And I said, and I want you to hear me say this, Emily. I want you to hear the exact words I said, Dan. The day you hit that number, you come tell me, and I will walk you out the door myself, and I will shake your hand, and I will wish you every good thing in this world. Because you are one of the only honest men I have ever hired, and I am not going to be the reason an honest man dies dishonest. Emily's eyes were burning. Mr. Cole, I'm not done, kid. I am not done. The night he disappeared, he was on a run he had volunteered for. You understand? He volunteered because the run paid triple, because he was 3 months from his number. And I have spent 8 years hating myself for letting him on that truck. Because I should have said no. I should have said, Dan, you are too close to the end. I am not putting you on a triple run this close to the door. And I didn't. I signed off on it. And your father got on that truck, and your father did not come home. The tears were running now, silent. She didn't wipe them. Who was on the truck with him? She asked. 2 men. One of them came back. The other one was David Chen. Emily Carter made a sound she did not recognize as coming out of her own throat. Nathan did not look away from her. Chen came back with the story was, Nathan said. He said the truck was hit. He said your father ran. He said by the time he got to where your father was supposed to be, he was gone. No body, no blood, nothing. I did not believe him. I have never believed him. But I had no proof. I had a man who came back with a story, and I had a man who did not come back, and I had 8 years of wondering if the man who came back was the reason the other one didn't. And last night, David Chen came into my house and asked me to apologize for the death of his brother who let me be very honest with you. Now, Emily, his brother who I did have killed, because his brother was stealing from me, and I had given him 3 chances, and a man who gives 4 chances in my line of work is a man whose friends end up in the ground. I am not going to sit here and tell you I am a good man. I am not. But I did not kill your father. And last night I believe David Chen tried to kill me. And I believe he is the reason a man named Daniel Carter never made it home to his wife and his kid. And I believe he stopped. He looked at her. He had tears in his eyes too. Emily had not expected that. She had not expected that in 100 years. And I believe he said that I owe you more than my life. I believe I owe you your father's. The door opened. Marcus, not asking, just opening. Boss, Vincent is downstairs. He has paperwork. Tell Vincent to wait. Boss, tell Vincent to wait. Marcus looked at Emily. Emily was crying without sound, and her hands were white where they gripped each other in her lap, and Marcus's face did something Emily could not read. Then he nodded once and he shut the door. Nathan Cole reached out, slowly, with the hand that didn't have the IV in it. He did not touch her. He just held his hand in the air between them, palm up, like a man offering a thing he wasn't sure she'd take. Emily looked at the hand, then she reached out, and she put her hand in his. Emily. Yes, sir. We are going to find him. Yes, sir. We are going to find David Chen if he is alive, and we are going to find out what he did to your father, and we are going to finish it. Together. You and me. That is the debt. That is the only debt. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Say it back. We're going to find him. Good girl. He squeezed her hand once and he let it go and he closed his eyes and he was asleep before she made it to the door. Marcus was waiting for her in the hallway. He didn't say anything at first. He just fell in beside her as she walked toward the elevator, matching her step. Walker. Yes, sir. That's not your name, is it? She stopped walking. She turned. She looked up at him. Marcus' 6'4" scar through the eyebrow face like a locked door, and she thought about lying, and she thought about what Eddie had said in the first room, and she thought about Nathan's hand closing around hers. No, sir, she said. It's not. Marcus nodded slowly. Didn't think so. Are you going to tell Vincent? Vincent is going to find out by tomorrow anyway. I told you that last night. Yes, sir. Walker. Yes, sir. Carter isn't it. Her breath caught. How did you buy him? 8 months ago, Marcus said. A girl with no references and a diploma I couldn't verify applied to be a maid in Nathan Cole's house. I let her in. You want to know why? Why? Because I recognized the chin. She stared at him. Your father and I ran together in the early days, Marcus said quietly. Before he got smart, before he got honest, before he got out. And the night he didn't come home, I was the one who drove to your mother's house and sat in the driveway for 2 hours because I didn't have the guts to knock. I watched the kitchen light go on at 4 in the morning. I watched your mother make a pot of coffee she didn't drink. And I drove away Emily Carter. And I have not slept a full night since. Emily couldn't speak. I let you into this house, Marcus said, because I owed your father a debt and because I figured if you were here for a reason, and sooner or later you'd tell us what it was. I did not expect you to tell us by running into a fire. Marcus, get in the elevator, kid. Marcus does. He know. Does Nathan know that you? Nathan does not know everything I know. That is my job. You hear me? Yes, sir. Good. One more thing. Yes. He leaned down. His voice dropped to a place only she could hear. David Chen is not dead, Marcus said. Emily's blood stopped moving. What? The body in that study was not his. We got the dental back an hour ago. It was a decoy, a kid from his crew. Chen walked out of that house before the blast went off. He is alive, Emily Carter. He is alive, and he knows by now that a maid pulled Nathan Cole out of a fire he paid good money to light, and he is going to come looking for her. Does Nathan? I have not told him yet. I will tell him when he wakes up. You are not going to tell him before I do. You are going to get in that elevator, and you are going to go back to the safe house, and you are going to stay there until I come for you myself. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Walker. Carter, sir. Marcus almost smiled. It did not reach his eyes. Carter, he said, welcome home. And he put her in the elevator, and he pressed the button for the lobby, and the doors closed on his face, and Emily Carter rode down 3 floors alone with her father's name in her mouth, and the knowledge cold and clean and final that the man who had killed him was still breathing somewhere in the city of Chicago, and that he knew her face now. Eddie didn't say a word the whole ride back. He kept checking the mirrors, not the way a driver checks mirrors, the way a man checks them. Left, right, rear view, left again. His hands were on the wheel at 10 and 2, and every time they hit a red light, his right hand slid off the wheel and rested on something under his jacket that Emily pretended not to notice. Eddie? Yes, ma'am. Are we being followed? No, ma'am. Then why are you driving like we are? Eddie glanced at her in the mirror. He tried to smile. It didn't work. Ma'am, he said. Marcus called me 90 seconds ago and told me that if anything happens to the girl in my back seat, I should not bother coming back to work. I should just keep driving. I should drive until I hit an ocean, and then I should walk into it. So I am driving accordingly. Emily turned and looked out the back window. 3 cars back, a black sedan was matching them lane for lane. Eddie? I see him, ma'am. How long? Since the second light off Michigan. What are we going to do? I am going to do my job. You are going to do yours. What's my job? Your job, Eddie said very calmly, is to lie down across the back seat right now and not sit up again until I tell you. She laid down, her cheek pressed against the leather. Her heart was a fist in her throat. She could hear Eddie breathing through his nose, slow, long breaths, the kind of breathing a man does when he has done this before and has decided not to be scared this time either. Eddie, lie still, ma'am. Eddie, is that him? Is that Chen? Lie still. The car sped up. Then it slowed. Then it turned hard. She felt her body slide against the seat, the seatbelt she wasn't wearing biting into nothing. And Eddie said a word under his breath that her mother would have washed her mouth out for. And then he said louder, hold on, ma'am. Just hold on. The Escalade accelerated. They took a left that made the tires scream. They took a right that threw Emily into the door. And then as suddenly as it had started, Eddie exhaled a long breath and said, okay, we're clear. Sit up slow. She sat up slow. The black sedan was gone. Eddie, yes, ma'am. Was that? I don't know who that was. That's what scares me. Because if it was Chen's people, they already know this car. And if it wasn't, ma'am, then somebody else is already looking for you too, and I need to call Marcus right now. He picked up the phone, he dialed, it rang twice. Marcus picked up on the third. Boss, we had a tail off Michigan. I lost him at LaSalle, but he was good. He was real good. I don't think he was trying to catch us. I think he was trying to see where we were going. He listened. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm taking her to the other house. He listened again longer this time. His face changed. Say that again, boss. Say that one more time for me. A long pause. Yes, sir. He hung up. He did not look at Emily in the mirror. Eddie, change of plans, ma'am. What did Marcus say? Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to trust me for the next 20 minutes, and I am going to ask you to not ask me any more questions until we get where we're going. Can you do that? Eddie, what did Marcus say? Eddie's jaw worked. He said, Eddie told her very quietly that the safe house isn't safe anymore. He said somebody called the landline at 9:14 this morning and asked for Emily Carter by name, not Walker. Carter. And he said the voice on the other end of the line was a woman's. Emily's stomach dropped through the floor of the car. A woman. Yes, ma'am. Who? That, Eddie said, is what Marcus is trying to find out. Right now. Lie back down, ma'am, please. She lay back down. And for the first time since the fire, Emily Carter felt something colder than fear. She felt the specific personal chill of knowing that somebody in this city knew her real name, and it wasn't Nathan, and it wasn't Marcus, and it wasn't David Chen. It was somebody else. Somebody she hadn't accounted for. Eddie drove her to a diner, not a safe house. A diner on a corner she didn't know in a neighborhood she didn't know with a neon sign that said open 24 hours in a parking lot that had 6 cars in it, and one of those cars was Rita's. Go in, booth in the back, Rita's waiting. Eddie, go ma'am, please, I'm going to circle the block till Marcus tells me different. She got out, she went in. Rita was in the back booth with 2 cups of coffee and a face Emily had not seen on her before. Rita's face this morning had been kind. Rita's face right now was a working face, a field face, a face that said, we are on the clock now and we are not pretending we're not. Sit, honey. Emily sat. Drink the coffee. Rita, who called the house? Drink the coffee first. Rita, drink the coffee, Emily Carter. Because in about 2 minutes, I am going to tell you something that is going to knock the wind out of you, and I would prefer you had caffeine in your system when I do it. Emily drank. Rita watched her drink. Then Rita reached across the table and she took Emily's wrist. Not hard, just firm the way a nurse takes a wrist. And she said, honey, when your mother died, who came to the funeral? Emily blinked. What? Who came to the funeral, Emily? I need you to think. I need you to tell me every face you can remember at your mother's funeral. Rita, what does this who came, Mom? Emily's mind went to a place she had not let it go in 3 years. The little chapel in the suburb of Toledo. The closed casket because the cancer had taken too much. The folding chairs. The hymn nobody knew the second verse of. My Aunt Janet, she said slowly. My Uncle Bill. A couple of my mother's friends from the nursing home where she worked before she got sick. The pastor, his wife, and a woman I didn't know. Rita's grip tightened on her wrist. A woman you didn't know. Yes, I remember her because she stayed in the back. She didn't sign the book. She left before the reception. What did she look like, honey? Tall, dark hair. My mom's age, maybe a little younger. She was wearing a gray coat. Rita closed her eyes. Rita? Honey, Rita, who was that woman? Rita opened her eyes. The woman who called the safe house this morning and asked for you by name. Rita said is a woman named Elena Vasquez, and Elena Vasquez is the reason your father is dead. Emily Carter stopped breathing. She actually stopped. Her lungs quit. There was a half second in that booth in that diner on that corner where Emily Carter was a dead girl in a live body, and then the air came back in one hard, painful rush. And she said not loud, not angry, just flat, the way a person says the last sentence of a sentence they have been waiting their whole life to finish. Say that again. Elena Vasquez. She was at my mother's funeral. I know she was. You know she was. Honey, listen to me. I need you to listen. I am going to tell you things now that are going to make you hate me for a minute. You can hate me for a minute. Then you are going to stop hating me and you are going to start working with me because we do not have time for anything else. Can you do that? Emily nodded. She did not trust her voice. Elena Vasquez was David Chen's wife, Rita said. 18 years. They split up 10 months ago. Messy. Ugly. Chen kept the crew. Elena kept the kid. She's been a ghost ever since. We thought she was in Arizona. She's not. She's here. And she has been watching you, Emily, for a long time. Longer than you have been watching us. The woman at your mother's funeral was her. The woman who put the flowers on your father's empty plot in the cemetery in Toledo. Every March that was her too. And the reason she did that, honey, the reason she has been watching you for 11 years is that Elena Vasquez was driving the second truck the night your father disappeared. Emily's hand went to her mouth. Rita. She was 26 years old. She was the getaway car. She watched her husband kill your father, Emily, and she drove him away from it. And she has been carrying that around for 11 years, and when she finally left him, she started doing the only thing she could think of to do. She started watching his enemies, including a girl whose name used to be Carter. Rita, why is she calling me now? Because, honey, Rita leaned forward across the table. She knows what happened in Nathan Cole's house last night. She knows her husband tried to kill Nathan. She knows he failed. And she knows what her husband is going to do next. And I think Marcus thinks she is trying to warn you. Warn me about what? Rita did not answer. Rita, warn me about what? Rita picked up her phone. She turned it around. On the screen was a grainy photograph. Black and white, a security camera still. A man in a dark coat walking into the lobby of a building Emily did not recognize. Late 40s, Xian. A face Emily had never seen before in her life, but a face she would now see every time she closed her eyes for as long as she lived. That's Chen, Rita said. This picture was taken 40 minutes ago. You know where this picture was taken? No. It was taken in the lobby of the building where Nathan Cole is right now. The dental office, Emily. The hospital. Emily was already standing. Sit down. Rita, sit. Down. Marcus has the floor locked. Chen walked in. He walked around. He walked out. He never got past the security desk, but he was there to see something, honey. He was there to the layout. He was there because he is coming back, and when he comes back, he's not coming alone. And Marcus needs to know how much time he has, and Elena Vasquez is the only human being on the face of this earth who can tell him that. And Elena Vasquez, Rita said, will not talk to Marcus. She will not talk to Nathan. She will not talk to me. She said she will only talk to one person. Me. You. Why me, Wuck? Rita reached across the table again. She took both of Emily's hands this time. Because Rita said, you are the only person in this entire goddamn story who wanted your father back as badly as she does. Eddie drove her to the meet. It was a church, not a fancy one. A neighborhood church, the kind with a parking lot that had more potholes than cars, the kind that had a whiteboard out front advertising a food pantry on Saturdays. Rita rode in the passenger seat with a handgun in her lap, open and obvious. And when Emily opened her mouth to say something about it, Rita said, don't, before Emily got the first word out. Rita, don't. You're going to carry a gun into a church. Honey, I have carried a gun into worse. Rita, what if she's not alone? Then Eddie is not alone either. Look around. Emily looked. There were 2 cars in the lot she hadn't noticed before. A plumbing van across the street. A man on the bench at the bus stop who was not waiting for a bus. Marcus doesn't go into a thing unprepared, Rita said. Now listen to me. You are going to walk into that church alone. You are going to sit down in the 3rd pew from the back on the left side. That's where she said to sit. You are going to put your hands on your knees, palms up so she can see you are not wired and you're not armed. And you are going to wait. Do not speak first. Do not turn around. Let her come to you. Okay. And Emily. Yes. Whatever she tells you in there, whatever it is, you remember every word, because we are not going to get a second conversation with this woman. She is going to disappear the second she walks out those doors, and she is never coming back. You understand me? Yes. Go. So, Emily walked into the church alone. It smelled like old candles and lemon polish. And something else, something sadder, the smell every church has, that is the smell of 100 years of people asking for things and not always getting them. She walked down the center aisle and she slid into the 3rd pew from the back on the left side, and she put her hands on her knees, palms up, and she waited. For a long time, nothing happened. Then a woman sat down in the pew behind her, and Emily did not turn around. Emily, the voice was low, tired. It had the faint rasp of a lifelong smoker who had quit 10 years too late. Yes, ma'am. You look like him. Emily's eyes filled instantly. She did not let the tears fall. Thank you. I used to watch you play in the yard. Did you know that? No, ma'am. Your father had a picture of you on the dashboard of his truck. You were 8. You were missing a front tooth. He used to point at it at stoplights and tell me, that girl right there, Elena, that girl is going to be a lawyer someday. That girl is smarter than both of her parents combined. He loved you more than I have ever seen a man love anything. Emily bit the inside of her cheek until it bled. Ma'am, did you see him die? A silence. Yes. Did he suffer? Emily, I need to know. I need to know. I have been not knowing for 11 years, ma'am. I cannot go one more day not knowing. Did he suffer? Another silence, a longer one. Then Elena Vasquez said very softly, he did not suffer, honey. I promise you. It was fast. And the last thing he said, the very last thing, was your mother's name. He said Carol. He said it twice. And then he was gone. And I have carried that around for 11 years, and I am telling you now because you deserve to know, and because I am about to do something I should have done that night, and I need you to know this first in case I do not walk out of this church. Emily was crying silently. Her shoulders were shaking. She did not turn around. Ma'am, what are you about to do? I am going to tell you where my husband is going to be at 11 o'clock tonight, Elena said. I am going to tell you what car he will be in, and what street he will be on, and how many men he will have with him. I am going to tell you the thing that will end him, and I am going to tell it to you, Emily Carter, and not to your Mr. Cole, because if I tell it to Nathan Cole, it is the hit, and if I tell it to you, it is a choice. Do you understand me? No, ma'am, you will. Ma'am, my husband killed your father. My husband has killed 7 other people that I know about, and probably 4 more that I don't. My husband tried to kill Nathan Cole last night, and he is going to try again tonight. And if he succeeds, he is going to come for you next, Emily, because you pulled his target out of a fire, and because my husband does not leave loose ends. You are a loose end. Emily closed her eyes. So you have a choice, Elena said. You can take what I am about to give you to Marcus, and Marcus will take it to Nathan, and tonight your father will be avenged, and you will be safe. Or you can walk out of this church and you can throw what I am about to give you in the garbage, and you can go to the police instead. You can give them his location. You can let them arrest him. He will go to trial. He will probably go to prison. He will probably die there eventually of old age in a bed with a priest. That is also a choice. That is a slower choice, but it is a choice that does not make you what he made me. Do you understand now? Emily understood. God, she understood. Ma'am, she said, and her voice was steadier than she had ever heard it. Why are you giving me the choice? Why not make it yourself? And Elena Vasquez, in the pew behind her, said the sentence that Emily Carter would carry with her for the rest of her life. Because I made my choice 11 years ago, honey. I made it when I drove the car. And I have been living with it every day since. And I am not going to take that away from you. I am not going to turn Daniel Carter's little girl into a woman who has to live with what I have had to live with. So I am giving you the thing, and you are going to decide what kind of woman you are going to be. And whatever you decide, I am going to respect it. Do you hear me? Emily did not answer. She could not. She felt Elena's hand come over the back of the pew. It was thin. The knuckles were swollen. It was a hand that had been hit more than once. The hand dropped a folded piece of paper into Emily's lap. 11 o'clock, Elena said. Everything you need is on that paper. Do not open it in this church. Do not open it in the car. Open it in front of Marcus, or open it in front of a police captain. Those are your 2 doors. Ma'am. Yes, honey. Thank you. A pause, then so quietly Emily almost didn't hear it. Tell him, Elena's voice cracked. Tell your father when you see him again. Tell him Elena says she is sorry. Tell him she is sorry every day. Tell him I never forgot the picture on the dashboard. And then the pew creaked. And then the footsteps went up the aisle slow and uneven. And then the side door of the church opened and closed very softly, and Elena Vasquez was gone. Emily sat there for a long time with the folded paper in her lap. Then she picked it up. Then she walked out. Rita was standing by the car. Rita took one look at her face and did not ask a single question. Rita just opened the back door and helped her in and shut it behind her. And Eddie started the engine, and the Escalade pulled out of the church parking lot, and the folded paper sat on Emily Carter's knee like a live thing. Honey? Yes. You got it. I got it. Where are we going? Emily Carter looked out the window at the city her father had died in. She thought about Nathan Cole in a hospital bed. She thought about Marcus at the elevator. She thought about a man named David Chen walking into a lobby 40 minutes ago to count exits. She thought about a woman in a church who had just handed her the last 11 years of her own life folded into quarters. And Emily Carter, 23 years old, opened her mouth and she made her choice. Take me to the hospital, Eddie. Rita turned in her seat. Honey, I'm not giving it to Marcus, Rita. I'm not giving it to a police captain either. I'm giving it to Nathan. I'm going to put it in his hand, and I'm going to tell him what the woman said, and I'm going to let him hear her voice in my voice. And then I am going to ask him one question. And whatever he answers, that's my answer. Rita looked at her for a long moment. Then Rita nodded once slowly. Eddie, the hospital. Yes, ma'am. Drive fast, but drive smart. Yes, ma'am. Nathan was sitting up when she walked in. The IV was out. The bandage on his head had been changed smaller, now cleaner, and his color was back, or most of it was. Marcus was in the corner again, and this time Marcus did not move when Nathan waved him out. Boss, out Marcus. I'm not leaving her alone with you for this one. Marcus, out. No, sir. Emily had never heard anyone say no, sir, to Nathan Cole in 8 months. Nathan looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Nathan. Something passed between them that Emily didn't have the vocabulary for. Then Nathan nodded small and Marcus stayed where he was, arms crossed, face locked. Fine, Nathan said. Emily, come here. She walked to the bed. She took the folded piece of paper out of her pocket. She held it in her hand, and she did not put it down yet. Mr. Cole. Nathan, I just came from a church. I heard. You heard. Marcus told me 90 seconds ago. Go on. I met a woman named Elena Vasquez. Nathan's face did not move, but his good eye narrowed just a fraction, and his good hand, the one without the gauze on the knuckles, closed slowly on the blanket over his lap. Elena, he said. Yes, sir. You're sure it was her? She said things she couldn't have known if she wasn't. Like what? Emily swallowed. She said my father had a picture of me on his dashboard. She said I was 8. She said I was missing a front tooth. Nathan closed his eye. God in heaven, he said. Sir? Emily, that picture, your father used to carry that picture into meetings, not just a truck. He used to put it on the table. He used to tap it with his finger and say, that is why I do not take stupid risks, gentlemen. That right there, keep that in mind when we talk numbers. Half the men who sat across from him were afraid of him by reputation and softened by that picture in the same meeting. I watched him do it a dozen times. Emily's eyes filled again. She thought they were empty. Apparently not. Mr. Cole, Nathan, she gave me this. She put the paper in his hand. He held it for a long moment without opening it. He looked at her over the edge of it, and he said very carefully, Emily, do you know what is on this paper? Yes. Did you read it? No, sir. Why not? Because she told me not to open it in the car. And because I decided in the car that whatever was on it, I wasn't going to be the one who decided what happened next. I decided I was going to give it to you. And I was going to ask you one question. And then I was going to do whatever you told me to do. Nathan looked at her for a very long time. What's the question, kid? Emily took a breath. If I give you that paper, she said, and you do what's on it, does that make me like him? Like who? Like Chen. Nathan Cole set the paper down on the blanket. He did not open it yet. He looked at Emily Carter, the way a father looks at a daughter who has just asked a question he has been waiting his whole life to hear somebody ask, and he said, no, kid, it does not. How do you know? Because Chen would not have asked the question. She stared at him. Emily, listen to me. Chen is going to die tonight. He is going to die whether you give me that paper or not. He walked into my hospital this morning to count my exits. He is not leaving this city without trying again, and the next time he will not miss. That is not a threat I am making. That is a fact I am reading off a wall. The only question this paper answers is whether he dies tonight in a car on a street of his choosing or tomorrow in my bedroom on a street of his. That is the only question. Your hands are clean either way, Emily. Do you hear me? I hear you. Do you believe me? Do you believe me? I believe you, Nathan. Good. He unfolded the paper. He read it once. He read it a second time. His face did not change. He refolded it neat in the same creases it had come in, and he handed it to Marcus without looking away from Emily. Marcus. Yes, boss. 11 o'clock. Yes, boss. Take 6, not 4. Take Tommy, and I want you to bring him back to me. Marcus's face went still. Alive, boss. Alive. Marcus looked at Emily. Emily looked back. Yes, boss, Marcus said, and he was out the door. Nathan waited until the door closed. Then he turned his head on the pillow slowly, and he looked at Emily and he said, Sit down, kid. You have been standing for 2 days. She sat. Emily. Yes, sir. There is something I did not tell you this morning. I was going to tell you eventually when you were stronger. But you are stronger today than you were this morning. I can see it in your face, so I am going to tell you now. You ready? I'm ready. Your father did not die on that run. Emily stopped breathing. Not the way you think. Not on the road. Not in the truck. He did not die that night, Emily. He lived for 6 more hours. What? Chen took him. Chen had him for 6 hours in a warehouse on the south side that does not exist anymore because I had it leveled 2 years later. Chen wanted something from him, a name, a number, a safe. It doesn't matter what. Your father did not give it up. Your father died in that warehouse at 4:18 in the morning on a Thursday. And the thing I did not tell you, Emily, the thing I have never told anybody is that he called me. She couldn't speak. He called me from Chen's phone. He said 7 words. He said, Nate, my daughter, don't let him. Please. That is what he said. And then the line went dead. And I have heard that sentence in my head every single night for 11 years. The tears were running down her face. Nathan. I didn't know what he meant, Emily. I have wondered for 11 years. Don't let him what? Don't let him find me. Don't let him know about me. Don't let him hurt me. I didn't know. I did not know what to protect you from because I did not know what he was asking me to protect you from until this morning. This morning. This morning when you told me your name was Carter, I understood. Understood what? He was not asking me to protect you from Chen. Chen did not know about you. Chen never knew you existed. Your father made sure of that. He went into that warehouse with no wallet, no ID, no phone, with pictures on it. He made himself a blank. He died a blank, so that Chen would never know he had a daughter. Emily put her hand over her mouth. What he was asking me, Emily. Nathan's own voice broke and he did not try to hide it. What Daniel Carter was asking me with his last breath was don't let the life I led find my kid. Don't let her grow up and come looking. Don't let her find Nathan Cole and walk into Nathan Cole's house and bleed for a thing she had nothing to do with. Don't let him, meaning me, Emily. Don't let me be the reason his daughter ended up in a burning building at 23 years old pulling a mafia boss out of a fire. She was crying openly now, not sobbing, just crying the way a person cries when the thing they have been carrying gets set down finally in front of them. And I failed him, Nathan said. No, I failed him because you are here, because you found me anyway, because you were 23 years old and covered in soot on my lawn 2 nights ago, and I did not know whose daughter you were. I did not know. And the last thing your father asked of me in this world was the one thing I did not do. Nathan, let me finish. Nathan, no. Let me finish, Emily. Please, let me finish. She let him finish. So tonight, Nathan said, tonight at 11 o'clock, Marcus is going to do a thing on a street of David Chen's choosing. And he is going to bring Chen back here. And when Chen gets here, when he is sitting in a chair in a room 3 floors down from this bed, with his hands tied and his mouth open, I am not going to ask him about my fire. I am not going to ask him about his brother. I am not going to ask him about any of the things he thinks I'm going to ask him about. Do you know what I am going to ask him, Emily? What? I'm going to ask him where Daniel Carter is buried. She made a sound. It wasn't a word. Because he is buried somewhere, Emily. Chen is a lot of things, but he is a tidy man. He does not leave bodies out. He put your father in the ground somewhere 11 years ago, and he is the only human being alive who knows where. And before that man leaves this earth, Emily Carter, he is going to tell me exactly where your father is. And then he is going to write it down, and then you are going to go home. Emily could not speak. Do you understand me, kid? She nodded. She could not do anything else. Say it. Say it, Emily. I understand. Good girl. He reached for her hand again, the way he had that morning. She gave it to him without being asked. His grip was stronger this time. One more thing, he said. Yes, sir. After tonight, after this is done, I am not going to own the thing I own anymore. Do you understand what I am telling you? No, sir. I am done, Emily. I made a decision in a burning room 2 nights ago when a girl I did not recognize put her hands under my arms and pulled. I decided lying on that floor that if I lived through the next 10 minutes, I was going to spend the rest of my life being a different kind of man. And I lived, so now I have to be. She stared at him. I am going to reshape the thing I built, Nathan said. I am going to pull the rot out of it piece by piece. I am going to take the legitimate parts of my business, and I am going to make them the only parts. And I am going to let the rest of it die. Slowly, carefully, with the kind of care a man takes with a thing that has teeth. It is going to take years. It is going to make me enemies I do not currently have. And I cannot do it alone. He looked at her. I want you to help me, Emily. Nathan, I know what I'm asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I am asking Daniel Carter's daughter to sit across a table from his boss and help his boss become something closer to the man her father tried to be. I am asking it because there is nobody else in this city I could ask and trust the answer. I am asking it because you are the only person who has ever walked into a fire for me without being paid. I am asking it because your father was the best man I ever employed, and I think that you are cut from the same cloth, and I would like to see what that cloth can do when it is not scrubbing my floors. She was crying again. She thought she'd been done. Nathan, I don't know anything about business. Good. Business is easy. What is hard, Emily, is having a conscience in a room full of men who don't, and I already have too many of the second thing and not one of the first. Your father would have been that person. Your father was going to be that person until he wasn't. I am asking you to be that person in his place, not because you owe it to him, because you don't, because I owe it to him, and I am asking you to collect the debt he cannot. She closed her eyes. She thought about her mother in the pantry crying so Emily wouldn't hear. She thought about the pastor reading a eulogy for a man there was no body to bury. She thought about a photograph on a dashboard of an 8-year-old girl with a missing tooth being tapped by her father's finger at stoplights. And Emily Carter, 23 years old, opened her eyes and said, yes. Nathan Cole nodded. Once. Good girl, he said. They brought David Chen back at 1:40 in the morning. Emily was in the room 3 floors down when Marcus opened the door. She had asked to be there. Nathan had said no. She had said yes. Nathan had said absolutely not. She had said, Nathan, I am going to be in that room, and you are going to let me because I have waited 11 years to look at that man's face. And you owe me that much, and you know you do. Nathan had looked at her for a long time. Then he had said, Marcus, put her in the corner. She does not speak. She does not move. She watches. And Marcus had put her in the third in the corner. She was in it when the door opened. David Chen came in on his own feet. His hands were tied in front of him. There was a bruise forming on his cheekbone and a cut above his left eye, but he was walking and his eyes were clear. And when they set him in the chair across from Nathan, he looked at Nathan and he smiled. Nate, sit down, David. I am sitting. Sit down deeper. Chen sat down deeper. You found me fast, Chen said. I had help. I heard. Who did you hear from? A woman, Chen said. Don't make me say her name, Nate. Let an old man keep some dignity. Nathan did not smile back. David, before I ask you the thing I am going to ask you, I want you to look to your left. Chen looked. He saw her, Emily Carter in the corner, in a hoodie that was 2 sizes too big, with her father's jaw set in her face. Chen looked for a long time. Then something in his face changed. Not fear, not recognition exactly, something older, something tired. Well, he said softly, well, you know who she is, David. I know who she looks like. Her name is Emily Carter. Chen closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. Carol and Daniel had a girl. He said not to Nathan, not to Emily, to the air between them. I forgot. I actually forgot. You know, Nate, I used to pride myself on my memory. I used to say Chen never forgets, and I forgot Daniel Carter had a little girl. She's not little anymore. No, she is not. He looked at Emily. Young lady. Emily did not speak. Marcus had told her not to speak. She did not speak. Young lady, your father was the only man I ever worked with who prayed before a run. Did you know that he would sit in the passenger seat of my truck and he would fold his hands and he would say a prayer for his wife and his daughter, and he would ask God to bring him home safe? Every time, I used to laugh at him for it. I used to tell him, Dan, God is not in this truck. And he would say, God is everywhere, David. God is even in you. He said that to me, even in you. Emily's hands were shaking. Marcus had told her not to move. She did not move. David, Nathan said, where is he? Where is who, Nate? Where is Daniel Carter? Chen looked at Nathan. Chen looked at Emily. Chen looked at his own tied hands. Paper and a pen, Nate, he said quietly. Paper and a pen, and I will draw you a map. I will draw her a map. I will draw her a better map than I have ever drawn anyone in my life. And I will ask one thing in exchange. You are not in a position to ask for things, David. I know I'm not. I'm asking anyway. What? Chen looked at Emily. I want her to hear me say I'm sorry. The room was very quiet. Nathan looked at Emily. Emily did not look at Nathan. Emily looked at David Chen, the man who had killed her father, the man who had held him for 6 hours in a warehouse on the south side, the man who had taken an 8-year-old girl's father away and buried him somewhere in the dark for 11 years. And Emily Carter, 23 years old, spoke the only words she spoke in that room. Say it, she said, but I will not accept it. Chen nodded, slowly. I understand, he said. I am sorry, Emily Carter, for what I did to your father, for the years I took from your mother, for the years I took from you. I am sorry, and I do not expect you to accept it, and I would not respect you if you did. I am sorry anyway. And then he put out his tied hands, and Marcus put a pen in them, and David Chen drew a map on a piece of yellow legal paper. They found her father 3 weeks later, behind a warehouse that wasn't a warehouse anymore, under a slab of concrete that had been poured over him on a Thursday morning 11 years before. The crew that dug him up worked for 7 hours in the cold, and when they lifted the last piece of him out of the ground, Marcus called Emily himself, and Emily drove there in the passenger seat of Eddie's car, and she sat on the curb across the street, and she cried. She buried him next to her mother in a cemetery in Toledo on a Saturday in December. Nathan Cole flew out for the service. He stood in the back of the chapel in a black coat, and he did not speak. And when Emily walked down the aisle behind her father's casket, he nodded at her once, and she nodded back. She carried the picture in her pocket, the one from his dashboard, the one of an 8-year-old girl with a missing tooth. Elena Vasquez had sent it to her in an envelope with no return address the week before the funeral. There was a note with it. The note said 3 words. Bring him home. She did. Nathan Cole did what he said he would do. It took him 4 years. 4 years of boardrooms and lawyers and long nights and longer phone calls. 4 years of old men shouting at him in rooms he used to own. 4 years of headlines and indictments and deals that did not always come out clean. But when it was done, the thing he had built was not the thing he had built anymore. It was something else, something that filed taxes and paid its workers and buried its dead in daylight. Emily Carter was in every one of those rooms. She was 27 years old the day Nathan Cole signed the last piece of paper. She had a suit on. She had her father's picture in her wallet. And when Nathan capped the pen and slid it across the table to her, he said, "Your turn, kid," and she signed. David Chen did not live to see it. He died in a room 3 floors below a private hospital on the northwest side of Chicago at 4:18 in the morning on a Thursday, which was the same hour and the same day of the week that Daniel Carter had died 11 years before. Marcus was the one who noticed. Marcus was the one who told Emily months later over coffee in a diner she had started going to on Sunday mornings. You think that was on purpose, Marcus? I think Nathan Cole does not do anything by accident, Carter. No, Emily said. No, he does not. And she drank her coffee. Shit. Emily Carter walked into a burning building at 23 years old to save the life of a man she did not know, because she needed an answer only he could give her own. She walked out with the answer and with a father to bury, and with a life she had not come looking for and did not expect to keep. She kept it anyway. She built something with it. She made her father's name mean something clean in a city that had not known what to do with clean for a long time. And every November, on the anniversary of a fire that had taken her everything and given her everything back, she lit a candle in the window of an office that used to be a mansion. And she did not say a prayer out loud because she was not her father and she did not know the words. But she thought of him. She thought of him every day, just like her mother told her to. And that was the end of it. That was the whole of it. That was the story of the maid who pulled the Mafia boss out of the fire and walked out of it, a woman her father would have been proud of.